Hello, this is Dave Sugarbaker, and today is the 24th day of, no it isn't, it's the 31st day of August 2025, and I have a sermon about weddings and wine. This is from the second chapter of John, Gospel of John. On the third day there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and to me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now standing there were 6 stone water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, "Fill the jars with water." And they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the chief steward." So they took it. When the steward tasted the water that had become wine and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the steward called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now." Jesus did this, the first of his signs, in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. Very early in my time at Northbrae Community Church in Berkeley, I had 3 garden weddings on a Saturday afternoon in the Berkeley Hills, scattered around in the Berkeley Hills. They were 2 hours apart. There was one at noon and another one at 2 at another location, and at a third location at 4. I was new to doing all these weddings, but I'd counseled each of the wedding couples, and I liked them, and I was looking forward to helping their wedding celebration be really great. I was invited to stay for the party after the first wedding. As soon as the wedding was over, the champagne started flowing, and I thought, cool, champagne. Having grown up in the Midwest, I had not had many opportunities to have something like champagne. Might as well take advantage of the opportunity, I thought. So after that first garden wedding, I had a couple glasses of champagne. And then I excused myself and I headed for the second wedding. Same routine. "Please stay a while for the party." They had a great buffet. They had a huge whole smoked salmon. So I had some smoked salmon and a couple glasses of champagne. I had a little trouble finding the location of the third wedding. I didn't think anything of it. The words to the wedding ceremony didn't trip off my tongue with the same ease that they had at the first 2 weddings. In fact, they kind of stumbled off my tongue in a few cases. And I remember thinking, what's going on here? And then it hit me. Dave, when you have another wedding to attend to, don't drink the champagne. I never fell into that trap again. The answer to the offer, "Have some champagne," was to take a glass and then sip it. Never finish that first glass, or somebody was going to come by and try to refill it for you. One of the things I learned long term from the 4,000 or so weddings that I officiated at is I don't like champagne. It's not true that the best wine is served first always. At most weddings, the champagne started out bad and it stayed bad. Most champagne, I think, tastes like lighter fluid with bubbles in it. At the end of the 20th chapter of the Gospel of John, the writer gives us his purpose. This is why he's writing his gospel. Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book, but these are written so that you may come to believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that through believing you may have life in his name. The first sign in the book of the Gospel of John, which is a book of signs, Jesus turns water into wine at a wedding. So what does it mean? We'll take a closer look at the story. Jesus, his mother, and the disciples were at a wedding in Cana. And the wine runs out before the party's over. And so Jesus' mother announces to Jesus that they have no more wine. And Jesus says something kind of interesting and maybe not relevant. What concern is that to you and to me? My hour has not yet arrived. Kind of a puzzling statement. Unless we see the word wine as pointing to what the gospel writers already knew, and that was that Jesus would call on his followers to remember him and to invite his Spirit to be among them by sharing bread and wine. Mary seems to understand his kind of throwaway comment about the end of his earthly ministry, and she turns to the servants and says, "Do whatever he tells you." Now, standing there were 6 stone jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each with a capacity of 20 or 30 gallons. Now, that's 120 to 180 gallons in these 6 jars. Now, the rites of purification were built into the religion, but it was a public health issue. You have to wash your hands before you eat. And so built into Jewish religious practice then and now is a ritual of washing your hands and saying a prayer. Now, these jars at the wedding were stone, not clay or ceramic. Jesus tells the servants to fill the jars with water, as if that was just one small task. Just take them over there by the faucet there in the kitchen and fill them up with water. No, wasn't that easy. Take these 6 stone jars and fill each one of them with 20 to 30 gallons of water. That's heavy. That's twice heavy. Once heavy for the stone jar and twice heavy to put 20 or 30 gallons into any container and then try to move that container is a lot of work. Each jar probably required 2 or 3 servants. They had to wrestle the jar down to the water source, probably the town well, and then bring it back full. So, finally, the jars are full of water, and he then instructs the servants to take some of the water, now changed into wine, to the chief steward or the master of ceremonies for the big feast. And the chief steward tastes it, and he goes immediately to the bridegroom, and he says, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine, after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now." 120 to 180 gallons of it. What does the 23rd Psalm say? My cup runneth over. The miracles of Jesus are almost never simply about magic. It isn't, they point to something other than the miracle itself, usually something about Jesus that we're supposed to understand. John's Gospel is a book of signs that are included not so we will understand that Jesus was really good at magic tricks, but that we might believe, and in believing, we might have life in his name. The jars that had contained hand-washing water now contain the best wine and lots of it. Jesus says at other times, "I have come not to abolish the law, but to fulfill it." The old Jewish containers that represent the old Jewish law and custom are repurposed. They're filled with the unexpected, no longer for hand washing, but containing a great soul-filling gift of wine, through which we can participate in God's overflowing generosity. Jesus compares entry into God's new kingdom at times to a feast. And in this first sign in the Gospel of John, we have new wine for the party, wine that's used at times in the Eucharist, wine that arrives in repurposed Jewish containers, the best wine and lots of it. Jesus' new kingdom isn't based on limited resources. It's about abundance. I have come so that you may have life and may have it abundantly, he says. The party's been going on for a while. The jars of water for the rite of purification have been used, but suddenly they have a new purpose. New wine, more than anyone could ever need, arrives. Thanks be to God. Now, if you find value in this, I'd appreciate it if you'd pass it along. Take care of yourself, stay safe, God bless you, and I'll see you soon. Bye.